Hello, I'm Morris Kochanski, Wilderness Living Skills and Survival Instructor. We have here a little article on direction, finding, you might say. My favorite little compass is a Silva that's this big, and it's got the features of some complex, and while I remember Silva gave this to me, you got your typical, your everything you find in some of the bigger compasses, but it's in miniature, so it's much more portable. Some of these actually have a safety pin so that you can actually pin it onto your coat and it sits there giving indication. But this is the one that has the mirror, and you use the mirror to hold this at eye level and see what the needle is doing. And that mirror is quite good for removing objects from the eye, but I would say it doesn't work well as a signal mirror. But at any rate, this is a very compact, rather sophisticated compass, and with this I get direction. If I can give myself direction and travel through thick bush, a compass is not easy to use much in thick bush, nor is it as useful perhaps in darkness. And the Swedes evolved this simple method of maintaining an accurate direction. And I'm told that they may travel 3-4 miles after dark for one logging camp to visit another. And they used the longest pole that was available. This one is quite slender, quite long, so it qualifies as a fairly good pole compass. Perhaps if it's quite straight, it's even better. And what you end up doing is pointing this in the direction you want to go, which may be derived in daylight hours, or it may be set with a compass. You look on the map and you say, I want to travel in such a bearing. Well, lay the stick down, using the compass, give yourself the bearing. And in our experimentation, we went over a mile, which is the diagonal of a quarter section, a mile by a mile section, you might say. So the diagonal is quite a bit longer than just a mile. So if you got a square that's a mile by a mile by, then the diagonal, and we use this heading for the other corner. So going from a southeast corner to a northwest corner. And we would be astoundingly accurate with this method. In that through bush like this, you're able to maintain such a consistent bearing. As you travel through the bush, you're trying hard. Now when I give myself I pick up this pole that's been laid out of my bearing, I'm looking over it at a distant objective. If there is a distant feature, I'll head for it very directly. But I try not to deviate too much. But when I come to a clump of trees and shrubs, I push the pole through. And I try very hard not to make it go any other way. I'm trying very hard to keep it on that one bearing. And as I walk, I'm looking over the pole, and I'm using the pole, and I'm looking over the pole. And the compass, you would be looking at this compass, looking up, and as a result, the way that operates, you're not necessarily very much on track. Looking off your short little tiny compass up and trying to follow that, whereas this gives you a very, very definite, clear direction. And all you have to do is simply push the stick through wherever you can, go around, pick it up, let the stick always be pointed exactly. It may take you longer, but in the end you'll get there sooner because you'll be so accurate in your direction of travel. So as I travel through, then here, I'm not walking around the bush like this and so on. I am taking the pole, and very often I'm throwing it as far as I can, watching that it doesn't get deviated. So I go around all this shrubbery, one way or the other. Then I pick it up and continue on this way, threading this through like a needle. And it has to go through whatever you're going. So there's another clump I'm coming to here. So I can't go through that, but the stick can remain accurate. It goes through, and you got to keep this up. Whoops, notice there, you can put it back if it does that, to try to stay as accurate as possible. Pick it up, and that's where the accuracy of this device becomes very, very pronounced. And of course, when I take a long, here the forest is dense, but there'll be places you can see it. Well, I know half a kilometer. I see what this pole is pointing at, and I don't pay much attention, and I move really quickly to that landmark, but I still try to keep this from being deviated one way or the other. And that's all there is to using a Swedish pole compass. Remarkably accurate guide. Slow sometimes because you have so much bush to thread through that you've got to push it through and walk around and pick it up. But you can travel long distances very accurately in utter darkness. Maybe a candle lantern that gives you enough light to not trip on things, but you're going to navigate in a spectacular fashion.